10 Best Picks presents the top 10 best cell phones. Starting at number 10. Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. The Samsung Galaxy S20 FE is everything you need and nothing else. Samsung pared down its flagship S20 series to a more palatable $699.99 price, and the result is a value-minded standard-bearer to properly face up against a forthcoming iPhone 12 line. With fast performance, solid cameras, and often substantial discounts at major wireless providers, the S20 FE 5G becomes our default Android phone recommendation for 2020, as well as our editor's choice. Samsung has a ton of phones out right now, but the two you should keep in mind are the Galaxy S20 FE 5G and the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. These two models offer flagship and super flagship performance. The S20 FE will satisfy most people, while the Note 20 Ultra adds an even better screen, an S Pen stylus, and the best phone camera we've tested. The phone comes in 6 colors including lavender, mint, navy, orange, red, or white. Overall, there's a humble feel to it. With its flat front and matte metal surfaces, the S20 FE doesn't try to scream luxury object the way curved glass phones do. It's also a bit more usable, and you don't have the accidental touch problem people often have with curved screen phones. In addition, the matte back does a much better job at repelling both fingerprints and scratches than the S20's glass back does. The S20 FE has a 6.5-inch 2400 by 1080, 120Hz screen that should always be kept in 120Hz mode for smooth scrolling. There's really no downside, the frame rate makes scrolling much smoother, and I tested battery life in 120Hz mode, and it's excellent. As this is one of Samsung's recent AMOLED displays, colors are gorgeous and the screen is bright. While the S20 series is capable of going up to a higher 2560 by 1440 resolution, it can only do so at 60 Hz, and I've found the smooth scrolling is worth the difference over the higher resolution. At number 9. Samsung Galaxy S8. The Samsung Galaxy S8 is without a doubt the most beautiful, polished phone I've ever held. These words were true when I first reviewed it in April and are still true a month on. I do have some additional insights since then, scroll down a bit for those. What makes the Galaxy S8 so special is this. A tall, narrow shape that fits snugly in my palm and curved sides that scream classy. And the screen? 5.8 inches of colorful gorgeousness with a display that stretches from edge to edge with just a whisper of a bezel. For its looks alone, Samsung's flashiest phone lands at the top of the class. Trust me, when you see the S8 and larger, pricier S8 Plus, you're gonna want to put your hands all over them. Not to be dramatic, but the Galaxy S8 really is a feast for the eyes. It adopts a new dimension, 18.59, that's almost 2:1 like the LG G6, which means that it's tall and narrow. That makes it easier to use one-handed. Extremely slim bezels mean there's much more screen stuffed into the shape. 83% of the phone's face is all yours for tapping and viewing. The S8 is almost the exact same height as the G6, but those curved sides make the S8 feel narrower, slimmer and, in truth, much more vulnerable. My biggest problem with the phone design is the fingerprint reader, which moved from the home button on the S7's front face to a narrow strip on its backing that looks a lot like a tic-tac, just left of the camera mount. I have no idea what Samsung was thinking putting it here. Other rear-mounted fingerprint sensors, such as the LG G6 and Google Pixel, are closer to the middle center of the phone's body, well clear of the camera and flash. They're round and easier to completely cover with your fingertip. Oh, boy. So much. Bixby is the blanket name for a feature that's actually broken into 3 parts: voice, home and vision. It does not replace Google Voice Search or Google Assistant, which comes preloaded on the S8 and which you can invoke by long pressing the home button. The Samsung Galaxy S8's fast speeds and fantastic curved screen make it a top phone for 2017, but the annoying fingerprint reader could sour your experience. Number 8 of my list. Moto G7 Plus. The Moto G7 Plus was the most premium offering in Motorola's affordable G7 quartet, offering up more power, better cameras and faster charging tech than its cheaper siblings. It's since been succeeded by the Moto G8 Plus, but it's still a decent device for people looking for a great cheap phone. The budget end of the mobile market continues to go from strength to strength, which means there's some serious competition for the Moto G7 Plus and family, and that's great for you, the consumer, as it means there's a range of great low-cost handsets available. If you didn't see the price tag before picking up the Moto G7 Plus, you'd be forgiven for assuming it costs almost double what Motorola is actually asking for the handset. Its front and rear are glass, sandwiching a metal frame which feels secure and relatively premium in the hand. Tap the rear glass and it does sound a little hollow, giving away its affordable credentials, but it's not something you'll be doing often. The power and volume keys are located on the right of the handset and fall nicely under your thumb or finger, with the power button offering a textured finish providing obvious tactile feedback on the key your finger is on. While the G7 Plus does have a large display, it's not overly cumbersome to handle. It measures 157x75, 3x8, 3mm, weighs 176 grams and sits well in the hand, but the glass finish means there's little grip on switching attention to the Moto G7 Plus display, and you'll find a sizable 6.2-inch Full HD screen. There's minimal bezel at the top of the display, with the front-facing camera housed in a teardrop notch which cuts into the display. The most powerful G-series smartphone to date is packed with features, and with a large screen, solid cameras and enough performance, it's a great device for those unable to afford a fully fledged flagship. Coming at number 7. Blue Vivo X6. These days, a few $100s can get you a surprising amount of phone. The Blue Vivo X6 is a case in point. This phone is Blue's newest contender in the budget category, offering a dual-lens rear camera, a notched infinity curved glass display with slender bezel on the top and sides, and a microSD card slot so that you can store in excess of 128 GB of photos, apps and more on your device. Holding the Blue Vivo X6 in your hand makes you appreciate the design used here. It's a thin and nondescript slab in the way most budget phones come, though at least it's very thin and light. The phone's curved back is easy to hold in your hand, and the protruding power and volume buttons stand out to add a bit of pop to Blue's otherwise understated aesthetic. The glossy plastic that Blue has used on the Vivo X6 isn't the best we've seen, though. However, the curved glass front adds a premium feel to the general experience, mimicking the premium design of Samsung's flagship Galaxy S10, though not as pronounced and bright as what you have on the Galaxy. Still, that's not particularly unusual in the sub-$200 segment, and everything with this phone feels physically solid. Phones with triple cameras like the iPhone XR and Samsung S20 are the latest trend in the phone world, but dual cameras are still common in the budget category. Still, multiple cameras are rare to find under the $200 mark. In that sense, the Blue Vivo X6 with its primary 13-megapixel plus 2-megapixel main camera separates itself from the crowd. Those optics are accompanied by another 5-megapixel shooter on the front, which is fine for a selfie camera on an inexpensive phone. You'll love the picture quality, but if you're coming from a high-res camera, it may not be much of a stunner. At number 6. Samsung Galaxy S9. Sure, the Samsung Galaxy S9 may be over 2 years old, but it's still one of the best smartphones from the last few years that you can still pick up if you want. Plus, the Galaxy S9 price is lower than its successors in the Galaxy S10 and Galaxy S20 series, or even its contemporary the Galaxy S9 Plus. The Samsung Galaxy S9 built on its predecessor the Galaxy S8 in a few ways, and that in itself was one of the best smartphones at the time. As such, the Galaxy S9 hit that list as well as our ranking of the best camera phones, even though it wasn't an upgrade over the S8 in every way. Let's be honest here. These are a clear response to Apple's Animoji, which gained a lot of attention when the iPhone X launched, and which make use of the true-depth camera on the front of the iPhone X, iPhone XS, iPhone XS Max and iPhone XR, and the iOS 12 update has a similar memoji trick. Samsung's offering feels like a watered-down version of this, albeit one with a bit more personality. To create your own little avatar, you simply smile into the front-facing camera, and the Galaxy S9 creates your own digital version of you. It simply couldn't do enough. It wasn't able to work out what you wanted contextually, and it wasn't able to start or control enough apps. We could forgive the gestation period for this feature if it wasn't for the fact that Google Assistant is already on the phone and incredibly capable. The Samsung Galaxy S9 is a great phone, but one that didn't really kick on from the Galaxy S8, bringing a very similar design and screen to 2017's version. The improved biometrics were sorely needed, and the camera is a leap forward, but the amazing low-light capabilities have resulted in sacrifices elsewhere. This is a top phone, but the S9 Plus outshines it. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Halfway of my listed number 5. Apple iPhone 8 Plus. The iPhone 8 Plus remains a solid option in the iPhone ecosystem, despite seeing some competition since it launched and being discontinued by the company. Since this review was originally published, we've added comparisons to some of the alternative phones you might be considering. The newest contenders into this competition congregation are 2020's iPhone line. That's the iPhone 12, iPhone 12 mini, iPhone 12 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max, and they're far more powerful than 2017's iPhone 8 Plus, but with iOS 14, the latter has all the software perks of Apple's latest phones. It's hard not to like the names Apple is appending to its chips these days. Following A10 Fusion, A11 Bionic doesn't really make a lot of sense in terms of what it actually does, but it's evocative. Anyway, that's that dealt with. The 2017 chipset inside has 6 cores, with 4 efficient ones doing the basic stuff and the other 2 doing the heavy lifting, whether that's photo editing, intensive multitasking or providing real-time camera effects. However, given that the iPhone 8 Plus can record in 4K at 60 FPS, and 3 minutes of that comes in at 2.16 GB, if you're going to do much filming at that quality, then you'll fill the 64 GB variant fairly easily. A solid iPhone, but a clear evolution from previous Plus models. Compared to the iPhone X, iPhone XS and iPhone 11 Pro Max, it's unexciting, but it offers the traditional home button and a far better experience over the smaller iPhone 8. Coming in at number 4 of my list. Apple iPhone XR. We've updated this review, originally published October 23, with final battery benchmarks, camera testing, drop test results and additional impressions. The overall rating has moved from 8 to 8.9, and the phone has been awarded a CNET Editor's Choice. Does the iPhone shopping landscape seem daunting? There's an easy solution. If you're looking for a great iPhone that costs well under $1,000, dive right into the iPhone XR. This is the iPhone. This is the one you're looking for. Apple put the same camera sensor and almost all the same lenses on the iPhone XR as it did on the XS and XS Max. The front-facing true-depth camera is the same. I took great-looking portrait photos, did weird memoji head things using Apple's emoji tools, and it's all better than what the iPhone 8 can do. The rear single camera is wide-angle, the same as the XS' wide-angle lens. Smart HDR shots and everyday photos look the same. Our recent iPhone XS camera comparison to the Pixel 3 shows where Smart HDR succeeds and where it still isn't as good in low light as what the Pixel 3 can do. The XR isn't iPhone XS size or XS Max size. It's right in the middle, and that middle size feels much more comfortable to hold than the wider XS Max. At first glance, the 6.1-inch screen on the iPhone XR looks all but identical to that of the iPhone XS, except for its slightly smaller 5.8-inch size. It has a notch at the top, curved corners and a tall 19:9 aspect ratio. But put the phones side by side, and you'll see differences. The bezels around the display are a little bigger, lending to a slightly less to-the-edge feel. Swiping and interacting with the XR, however, feels just as responsive as on the OLED screen of the iPhone X, XS and Max. The iPhone XR is the best iPhone for the price, delivering most of the advantages of the iPhone XS for hundreds less. At number 3. Moto G Power. Motorola's G series has long been a favorite for phone buyers on a budget, and this year's Moto G Power is no exception. With a top-to-bottom overhaul, the Moto G Power looks more refined than last year's model, offers excellent performance for the price, and can get even the most active users through a busy day on a single charge. It's the best $249 handset on the market and our editor's choice for budget-friendly smartphones. Flip the phone over and you'll find a plastic back panel in smoke gray. The camera stack sits in the top left corner, and the fingerprint sensor makes its home top and center. The switch back to plastic is a bit of a mixed blessing, since last year's Glass G7 Power was a fingerprint magnet. It means the phone might be able to weather falls a little better than its predecessor, but can also scratch more easily. In addition, the edges of the display extend slightly past the phone's frame, making them more vulnerable. And while Motorola says the phone is protected from splashes, it lacks an official IP rating. Call quality is excellent. With a peak earpiece volume of 87 decibels, it's easy to hear calls on busy streets. Voices sound natural, and there is no noticeable latency. Noise cancellation works well, but we did notice a little bit of background noise creep in on occasion. The Moto G Power features a triple camera stack with a 16MP primary lens with an f1.7 aperture, an 8MP ultra-wide lens with an f2.2 aperture, and a 2MP macro lens with an f2.2 aperture. The front-facing camera clocks in at 16MP with an f2.0 aperture. Our daylight test photos were solid, with good color accuracy and excellent depth of field, though there was some minor softness in the background. Low light shots were decent, however we noticed some minor background blur and edge noise. The Moto G Power offers snappy performance and truly spectacular battery life in a handset you can use anywhere in the world. We'd like to see NFC for mobile payments and better camera quality, but you're getting a ton of value for your money here. Of course, you can find those features if you're willing to spend more, but for $249, the Moto G Power really delivers and earns our editor's choice for being the best budget-friendly phone you can buy right now. Solid performance, multi-day battery life, and a gorgeous 6.4-inch display make the $249 Moto G Power the best budget-friendly phone you can buy right now. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Coming at number 2, Apple iPhone 8. The first place I took the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus was a sticky, late summer wedding just outside of Austin. It turned out to be the perfect way to stress test the new devices. The iPhones 8 have new cameras designed to hack it even on a drunken dance floor. Faster processors made downtime game playing run smoother. They're also easier to charge, so you're less likely to get stuck with a dead phone at the end of the night. If you do buy an 8, it'll be for one of two very important, very noticeable upgrades. The first is wireless charging, a decade-old tech that's finally made its way into the iPhone. Apple doesn't make a wireless charger yet. The AirPower Mat comes next year, but the iPhone 8 works with any pad using the popular Qi standard. The phone charges quite a bit slower on the pad than plugged into the wall, but it's worth it for the freedom. Wireless charging makes the iPhone feel less like a Tamagotchi needing constant feeding and more like a digital sidekick that's always ready to go. Pick it up when you need it, put it down when you don't, whenever you're not using your phone, it's charging. Android users have known this feeling for years, but a lot of iPhone users are going to love it now. Like the iPhone X, the iPhones 8 were designed as augmented reality devices, and that's where the camera and processor upgrades really start to shine. I've only had a chance to try a few Arkansas apps so far, but all work remarkably well. I've inspected an oversized beating heart in the middle of a hotel room and redecorated my living room with some help from IKEA's new app. Playing the Machines, an augmented reality table game in which you have to actually move around to make sure your armies aren't being attacked, was the most gaming fun I've had recently. It's also exhausting. If you want an awesome iPhone, this is it. I'd recommend the 8 Plus if you can stomach the size, because the added camera power and battery life are really nice to have. But both are fantastic phones, upgrades over even last year's model. But if you want to be part of the future, save your money for now. Then go get an iPhone X and see what's really coming next. And number 1. Google Pixel 4a. There's now a 5G-compatible version of the Google Pixel 4a called, rather unimaginatively, the Google Pixel 4a 5G. Well, it's called that, but you might find it quite a bit more similar to the Google Pixel 5. However, pull out the spec sheet and compare it to similarly priced rivals, and the Google Pixel 4a doesn't seem like such a great deal, with less power, less RAM, fewer cameras, a smaller screen and 5G connectivity. Although the Pixel 4a 5G variant is coming in mere weeks, with even better specs, albeit at a higher price, alongside the Google Pixel 5, which will also be 5G enabled. It's one of the more compact Android smartphones you can get hold of these days, measuring 144x69. 4x8. 2mm, which makes it smaller than the Pixel 3a while boasting a bigger screen. The result is a handset which is extremely easy to handle, and one-handed use is almost effortless. Those with smaller hands could still find it a bit of a stretch to reach the top of the display, but it sits comfortably in the palm. Talking of the Google Pixel 4a display, let's take a closer look at it. As we've already established, it's larger by 0.2 inches than the Pixel 3a's screen, but Google has taken things a step further with the Pixel 4a and done away with the bezels almost entirely. This is the first Pixel smartphone to come with an all-screen, bezel-less display, with the screen flowing around a punch hole that houses the front-facing camera in the top left. On the back you get a 12.2 MP camera with a f1.7 aperture and an 84-degree field of view. It can shoot 4K video at 30 fps, 1080p at 30 fps, 60 fps and 120 fps, and 720p at 30 fps, 60 fps, and a super slow 240 fps. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel, share this video and hit the like button.